Hey everybody, so today we're reviewing Cairn, the tabletop RPG where you go and get mad at people and you ask to see their manager. Cairn. Hey everybody, Jordan here, the PH is silent, and today I am with my good friend Lex for another Game with Lex this week, and we're going to talk about Cairn, which Lex knows much more about than I do, and it's not Cairn. Okay, take it away.
You don't have to. We already did the bad joke.
Oh, we're bringing it back because it was so good. The joke, you could tell it twice. It's awesome.
Oh, so Cairn is a 19-page RPG written by Yokai Gal in 2020 and released under a Creative Commons license. Now, disclaimer. I know Yokai personally and have lunch with him sometimes. He's very nice. He's also kind of a butthead, but also very nice. Actually, a very nice person and a good friend. Just, also, I wrote a setting supplement for this game at one point. I think a couple of years back now. So, yeah. Cairn is often described as NSR, new school role-playing, rather than OSR, old school role-playing. And I think that's mainly because of its design choices mechanically, though its playstyle, as we will discuss, is very much in line with OSR games. Now, in terms of rules, Cairn has 3 stats, strength, dex, and will, and these are generated by rolling 3d6, so they have the kind of ranges we expect from a D&D-like game. However, there are no modifiers to deal with. Now, for conflict resolution, you're rolling a d20, you're getting under your ability score most of the time. When you're in combat, though, you just roll your weapon's damage die. Simple as that. Just how high the roll is going to demonstrate how well you hit. This idea is borrowed from Chris McDowell's Into the Odd.
Right, okay.
And gosh, does it speed this game up. Woo!
So that's weird, though. Do you just always hit, is the idea? Okay.
Yeah. Now, speaking of hitting and damage, it works a little different here than in many other games we've discussed. So you've got hit points, but in this game they're called hit protection, and it's only about a d6, and it represents the amount of harm that you can take before it starts impacting your ability to function. So once you get past that d6, the damage starts eating into your strength score, or sometimes monsters will deal damage to your other scores instead, depending, like a ghost might deal damage to your will or something. And then it makes it harder for you to function outside of combat situations because the number that you're trying to roll under is lower. And if one of those scores hits 0, then you're dead. So finally, this game is another prime example of inventory as class, and you can check out our videos on Knave or Derf if you want to hear more of our thoughts on that. But basically, you have bigger and more weapons to be more fightery. You stock up on spell books if you want to be a caster, and big armor gives you damage reduction, and thus kind of makes it seem like you have more hit points that are more.
Oh, okay.
So the first 3 pages of Cairn offer one of the biggest highlights to me about the book. This is the sections for principles of play. We have general stuff on the first page, like the importance of player choice and difficulty of the game being tied to narrative rather than level. And then we have a section for wardens, which are what DMs are called in this game, with the info on things like how to telegraph danger properly to your players. And then the last page is a section for players that talks about the different things they should keep in mind, like teamwork. So everything here is really succinctly put together, and not only clearly informs everyone how to play, but what kind of game that you're going to be playing with Cairn. I don't think I've seen an RPG that lays out the OSR play style better than this game does. But Jordan, that brings me to my question for you, which is, if RPGs are games and you can play games however you want, right? They're supposed to be flexible in that way. Is this section too prescriptive? So I'm going to use a 5e example, right? A lot of people say like, oh, 5e, you can play it like a superhero game, which is kind of how it's designed, or you can play it as a mystery game, or you can play it as a social encounter game or something. But with this one, it's specifically like, no, your characters are super vulnerable, and by that token, you really can't play this as a superhero playstyle game.
I think it's being upfront with the players for sure. So no, I don't think it's tying anyone down, because ultimately with RPGs, you're gonna, like, if I play it how it's written, then I can expand on that later if I like it or don't like it. You know, what if I'm playing Cairn and I want to say, you know what, we keep dying a lot. Everybody has double the amount of hit points of normal. Oh, okay. Like, you just keep playing the game that way. I don't know. If it would break something, who knows? But I think it's important for the author who's worked on this and play tested it to tell us, like, this is the style of play I envisioned for you, you know? And also,
totally.
boy, principles for players, that should be in every RPG. Because,
right?
like, when your players are just like, well, I want to, like, fight my friend and I want to do this, you could be like, nah, the rules say, bro, that you can't do that. You're supposed to work together. Because there's nothing in that about that, you know? Like, there's usually, like, game master tips in some of these books of, like, how do I deal with problem players and things like that. But to address the problem players directly by saying, this is what is expected of you as a player, I think that's really awesome. And more games need to have that for sure.
It's you know how all RPGs have that section that says, like, what is an RPG?
Yeah.
Just forget that. Put this in instead.
Yes. 100%. Right? Yeah. We don't need to understand. Yeah. I don't know. I agree.
Totally. Yeah. So this goes beyond the game book, but I think it's really worth mentioning in this read-through. Yokai has made a concerted effort to make Cairn as accessible as to people as possible. So the game is free, right? It's been translated into a number of different languages. It has a well-moderated Discord server, and it has a really great website, which is what we're looking at right now. Now, the site in particular, I want to talk about because it has so much extra content. It's almost like the site is a deluxe version of the rulebook that expands on, like, pretty much everything. But again, it's entirely free because it's a website. So we've got, like, adventures in there. We've got adventure module conversions from other systems, which is really cool. We've got supplemental rules like extra spells. I think there are classes in there, even though this is a classless system, but I think some people introduce some of that stuff, and, like, a bunch of other different things. And frequently asked questions. There's a whole section for that. Links to YouTube videos. But
maybe the one you're watching right now.
There you go. So I just think it's awesome because you can grab this website. You can grab the book to have the PDF, or you could just do it off the website. You can find everything you need for all the rules and adventures. It's like everything you could possibly need to just start playing with this game. And yeah, and if you're confused about something, there's even a FAQ. But I guess, yeah, so my big question for you, right, is what do you think other systems can learn from the way Cairn does community stuff?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, part of the beauty of Cairn is that he did put it into Creative Commons. And so having this as just like a searchable resource is actually really cool. So if you want to go down the rabbit hole, you really can.
But if it's just about how do we support the game, then I feel like the website's better. But
for sure. Yeah, I mean, the localization, that's really cool. Like, it's localized in Japanese, and, like, that's crazy. So
yeah, he's you could tell he, like, cares a lot about that, and, like, goes and puts in the extra effort to make sure as many people can play the game as possible, which is just important. And I really wanted to highlight that in this talk through because we've talked about a lot of games already that are like Cairn, or even a Cairn hack, which I'll discuss later. But it feels like, and it's a really rules light OSR game, so it feels a lot like a lot of other games we've discussed, except maybe it might play a little smoother in terms of like you don't have to roll to hit, it just you have less rolls, right? But this, to me, when I look at Cairn, this is the thing that makes it different, is you have all of this wealth of resources. And it's cool. It also kind of allows you to play it in some different ways that weren't initially intended from the book. Like the book has 100 level of spells in it, and they're fun little spells like Wizard Mark or Gate or things like that, you know? But one of the things is none of the spells deal direct damage, I don't think. They're all just like, oh, this is a weird magical effect that happened. One of them makes you get infinite marbles in your pockets, which I just love. It's amazing.
That is pretty fun.
But yeah, they're all just fun magical effects that change the dynamic of the situation after you cast them. But if you go onto the website, they have converted a bunch of the traditional D&D spells like Magic Missile and Fireball, and those are all on there. So if you do want to have magic like that, yeah, you can go on the website, you can grab it, and it's already balanced for the game.
Is that GLOG magic?
No, that's Goblin Laws of Gaming magic. So that's another thing which is really cool about this, actually, is that Yokai is really involved with the blogosphere for the OSR stuff. So Goblin Laws of Gaming is a popular OSR blog, and I think that he invited them to put some of their material on the website, or he took their material and put it on the website. I'm not sure which. But either way, you have some people who blog in the OSR, and their kind of content also shows up on the website. So more connections to the OSR community, which is cool.
Yeah, because these are a lot of really fun, interesting spells. Invisible tether to objects that are, you roll your die times 10 feet apart. They can't be moved further than that. Like, that's just kind of a fun idea of like,
yeah,
you're tethered magically. And I want to point out that there is a character generator. So if you really wanted to try this out, not that it's difficult, and I do think building a character allows you to understand a system a little bit more. But if you are, this is one of the best character generators because it gives you a weapon and your tools and trinkets and your starting supplies, but it also gives you a name. Like I just generated, you are Morgwyn Smythe, formerly a carpenter. You have a scrawny physique, perfect skin, filthy hair, and an elongated face. I'm like,
oh, you've got perfect skin? Do you know how rare that is in a fantasy world?
It's hard, but when you're this handsome.
Right? Because the book has that kind of stuff as roll tables, but obviously rolling through the tables takes a few minutes, but if you just have a button you can click on a website, wow, so easy.
As a resource, this is amazing. Even at the table to if I could roll up monsters this way and stuff too, so...
the bottom line is, like we say with all of our stuff, go check out this game if you haven't already. It's a really streamlined OSR experience, and there's just such a low barrier for entry, right?
Yeah.
Also, if you're interested in Cairn hacks, we have an older video about a very cool setting-based hack called Mangaya that's like Cairn, but in like an ancient Philippines fantasy setting. It's really, really cool. They add a lot of really interesting, flavorful mechanics to it.
That was the boat one, right? Are they?
There are boats, yes.
Okay. That is Cairn, ladies and gentlemen. Tell us what you like in the comments, and if Bob Worldbuilder sent you, say hello to him for us, because this is one of his favorite games as well. We'll be back next week with more Games with Lex, so stay tuned. And we'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.